Hello and welcome to this brief lesson for creating animation triggers in Microsoft PowerPoint. Let's start by defining an animation trigger. On a high level, an animation trigger is an action that starts with clicking an object on your slide, a graphic, a photo, text box, for example, and the result is an animation that displays something, makes something go away, or emphasizes something. This can be helpful to create learner interactions with PowerPoint-based e-learning tools, or if you simply want to have a clever special effect in your classroom presentation. Now let's take a high-level look at the process to create an animation trigger. First, you will create slide content with at least one animation for the object you wish to display. Then, an optional but helpful step is to rename the objects that you will be working with, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. And finally, you will create and then test the trigger. So let's take a look at this process. Here's a slide that already has some information about one of my favorite wine areas, the Rhone Valley. And the content already has several animations, so we've already completed the first step of the process I showed you on the previous slide. I will press Escape to change PowerPoint into edit mode, and then select the animation ribbon and animation pane to see the animations in this slide. Now let's say that we want to display the text information on the right when the learner clicks the titles on the left. To create the trigger action, we're going to select the object that we want to display, and then we're going to select Trigger, On Click Of, and now you can see all of the objects that are on this slide. You can select any object you want the learner to click on, but in this case, we'll select Title, Northern Region, and that's it. Now let's repeat that process for the text box that describes the Southern region. We'll select the text box, then Trigger, On Click Of, Title Southern Region, and done. Okay, now let's go into presentation mode and see what it looks like. So you can see here that I don't have that text displaying on the right-hand side now, but when I float my cursor above Northern Region, my cursor will change shape. And when I click on it, the text displays, and the same thing happens on the Southern Region as well. Okay, so let's come back out to our slide in edit mode. And let's say that now we don't want the learner to be clicking on the Northern Region text, but rather we want them to be clicking on the map. Well, as I mentioned before, you can put a trigger on any object, whether it's text or graphic or photo. And so the one issue we'll have here with the map is that it spans the total height of the slide. And so we'll want to break that up somehow. There's several different ways to do this, but one common way would be just to draw a box on top of it and then have the trigger go for the box. So I will draw a rectangle and take out the fill and take out the outline as well. And now I have basically a invisible box above the northern region on the map. And so from here, I just have to go through that routine again, and I'm going to select the text on the right, and then on the animation ribbon, I'm going to select Trigger, On Click Of, and I'm going to find that invisible box. Well, the invisible box has a fairly cryptic name in here, and I'm going to guess that it's called Rectangle 2. This is the way that PowerPoint numbers its objects. It's a little bit cryptic, it's a little bit hard to understand, but we're going to come back to that and fix that a little bit later. So for now, I'm just going to select Rectangle 2 and keep the fingers crossed. And now let's see how it looks in presentation mode. You can see that Northern Region text no longer is a clickable object, but if I float my cursor above the top part of the map, my cursor will change shape. And when I click on it, the text will display. So the trigger works just fine, but it sure would be nice if it wasn't called Rectangle 2 or Rectangle 7 or something else like that. That's the final optional step, and I'll just show you this real quickly. If we go to the Home ribbon, I'm going to go down to the right-hand side and select the Select Choice List and the Selection pane. Now, the selection pane will list all of the different objects that are on a given slide, and it has all kinds of different names. Usually it's just rectangle 1, oval 2, that sort of naming convention, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you're going to be working with those objects and you want it to be a little bit friendlier, you can rename that object to anything you want. So let's call it Mapbox01, and then you can see that I've already renamed the rectangle box to text northern region, as well as I've renamed the titles and the other text box as well. So now when I go through that trigger routine and I select that text box and then go into trigger on click of, I'll get a little bit of a friendlier name for that map box. And I'll be able to duplicate that, of course, into the southern region and then possibly rename it to Mapbox02 or Map Southern Region or something else that's friendly to indicate to me what that object is. And that's all there is to the trigger routine. Now, keep in mind you can do more sophisticated triggers if you use more sophisticated animations. So, for example, on this last slide, I've got a wine quiz, and it works much like a flashcard. And when you click on it, it's going to invoke two different animations. One's going to make the top part disappear, and the other one's going to make the bottom part appear like this. And it's kind of a novel sort of effect. And again, anything that you can do with an animation in PowerPoint, you can invoke with a trigger. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful for you.